if one can put a face to the idea and the antithesis of the Taliban, it would be one of the most well-known singers of Afghanistan of this generation, for sure, Aryana Sayeed. She escaped after the Taliban took over Kabul city. She's joining me today in this exclusive conversation to tell us how she managed to escape with her husband, Hasib Saeed. Aryana, many thanks for joining us here in India today. Indeed, it is a day where everybody's thinking and praying and wishing for peace and calm in Afghanistan. You managed to escape. Let's begin with, how did that day begin? When did you think you needed to escape Kabul?
Hello, Geeta. Thanks for having me. To start with, I have to say that I'm happy and I'm very grateful that I made it alive out of Afghanistan. But I'm really worried and really concerned about the millions of people who are left behind in Afghanistan in chaos, and they have nowhere to go. Leaving in Afghanistan in a rush like that was a very horrifying experience for me, because I have actually been a direct target of Taliban for many years now. And, for me to escape in a situation like that, where there was 99% chances that they would catch me alive, was extremely, terrifying. But I managed to escape somehow with the American Army C-17 plane on the 16th of August. And I'm now here in Washington, D.C. in America, but my heart is still in Afghanistan, and it's bleeding for its people and the situation that's going on there.
Well, absolutely. You have been on the forefront of women's rights activism. You have spoken. You're one of the most outspoken people when it comes to Afghan women, when it comes to fighting for the rights of women, of girls, of children's education. Aryana, it is heartbreaking, but just wanted to know, in terms of what is happening right now in Afghanistan, what do you think and where do you think Afghanistan is headed? We'll talk about your experiences, but first, what do you think, where do you think Afghanistan is headed, given that we're speaking to so many women and all of them are heartbroken?
Geeta, right now, the situation in Afghanistan, as I mentioned, is just, crazy. I mean, where it's heading, none of us know, but for sure, I can tell you, if it's left in the hand of Taliban, the Taliban that we experienced 20 years ago, that are not proper human beings, that they don't treat people, humanly at all, especially the women in Afghanistan. It's just unbelievable, how the entire world in a span of few days left Afghanistan in their hands. And, women are scared for their lives. They're petrified. There are people, all over Afghanistan from other provinces that they have come to Kabul. They're literally on the road with no shelter, with no food. And, I understand that the Taliban, I realized the past few days that they're trying to show another image of themselves to the world, trying to tell the world that they have changed. Mm-hmm. But I do not buy that. I do not believe that at all, because I think they're only doing that to get recognized by the world as the new government. And I hope that the world do not recognize them as the official government in Afghanistan. And I hope that they do not let Afghanistan in their hands, because I'm very certain, I believe that if they do that, Afghanistan will go back. It will go back to the terror, base that it was, that used to be. And I'm certain that 9/11 will repeat itself, because Taliban are, they've lost their trust. Nobody trusts them anymore. Everybody is scared of them. They have fear, and I'm really worried. I personally am concerned for especially for women in Afghanistan, because they will not give them their full rights, as the human beings that they are. They will again not be able to, have their freedom and work and go to school or anything like that. It's just crazy.
Aryana, I will talk about and ask you about whether the international community failed the women of Afghanistan. But first, let's begin with your experience. How did that day when you thought of escaping Kabul begin? When did you and Hasib really decide that it is time to leave? What was the plan? How did you manage to reach the airport? And how did you then manage to reach Washington, D.C.?
Well, Geeta, to begin with, I have been in Afghanistan for the past 8 months. I initially went to Kabul this year uh, because I was a judge on one of the biggest talent shows, music talent show in Afghanistan. And then when the show finished, I wanted to stay in Afghanistan and give people some hope with my presence in there. So I established my clothing brand, and I established a huge store inside the heart of Kabul, and then in the recent days, we started hearing the news that the Taliban are getting closer. They're capturing the other provinces and they're near Kabul. I was still there until the 15th of August. And then on the 14th, we were getting phone calls from all over, from our friends and the head of the airline, who's a close friend. And he was saying, Aryana, I understand that you love Afghanistan, but you are a target and you have to get out of there. And my family and everybody was concerned for my life. So when the Taliban were coming closer, we said, okay, we booked ourselves on a flight on the 15th, was it? On the 15th of August, we were supposed to take a commercial flight at 8 p.m. in the evening. And then we received a call at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the head of the airline was saying, you have to make your way to the airport right now because the airport is in chaos and you have to get there because it's like crazy out there. So believe it or not, I just had the time to just grab a t-shirt and a jeans on me and my little purse where I was holding my passport and my documents. We made our way to the airport, and after a few hours, we got inside the airport and we were waiting to be checked in.
How did
And
you
then
manage,
suddenly,
how did you manage to get to the airport? Were you not checked? How did you travel?
well, we were checked. We were checked at that time, by security outside the terminal, and Taliban were not in Kabul, by that time. Around 2 o'clock, they were not there. They were just saying they're coming, but they were not inside still. So once we got inside the airport and we were waiting to be checked in within a few hours, at around maybe 5, 6 o'clock, we started hearing gunshots outside the airport. And then like all of a sudden, the entire airport staff and the security, they left the airport and they run away. And they left the people just like that. And so people were, like so scared that they started rushing to the planes. And suddenly the few planes that were there, they got filled up with like thousands of people. And there was no space inside them. People were piled up on top of each other. Kids, women, like small babies were crying. And, we got another phone call from the head of the airline again saying, no matter what, you have to get inside the plane right now because we might take off in the next few minutes. So my fiance Hasib and I, we somehow, managed to get inside the plane. We go inside, and again, there's like 1,000 people on a plane that's only has the capacity of 200 to 300 people, and there's no oxygen. There's like kids, there's like people, like it was horrifying. And then I said to my fiance, I said, oh my God, there was literally no space to even stand there. Everybody was like pushing each other. I said, we have to get off the plane. So we got off the plane. There's like bags everywhere. It was chaos. So we went inside the terminal again. And then we're hearing the news that the Taliban are like outside the airport and they're going to get inside in the next few minutes. They're literally walking towards the airport. And we started panicking, saying, okay, so if they come inside, obviously they're going to ask us for our identification. And if they recognize me, because I'm a target, like a bigger target than any other individual or any other person in there. So what do I do? So we decided to take the risk and walk out of the airport. And unfortunately, there's only one road that would take you outside or inside the airport, and you have to walk through that road. And so we started walking, and this is like 11 at night at that moment. So as we start walking out, we see hundreds of more people walking towards the airport, and we're getting outside. So we get to the end of the road, and then suddenly we start hearing shootings again. Like they're shooting in the air. We don't know what's happening. Who are they shooting? And then there's gunshots like 2 meters away from us. So we reach the end of the road, and there's like this guy, he ran towards us. He's like, "Where are you going?" in Pashto language. We're like, we just want to get out of here. Like, let us get out. He said, okay. So we just started walking. And then he's like, everything was okay. Everything is okay. Just come, just get out of here. And then he's like, look, even the Taliban are standing here with us. And the minute he says that, I had this, I cannot even explain to you how horrifying it was for me, like walking through the gunshots and walking through a group of Taliban with the leader standing there in the middle, and he's like zooming and looking at people, like scanning people literally. So anyway, we got out of the airport, and with the help of a few cousins of my fiance, we got into a car, and we drove for about 30 minutes away from the center, and we got to their house in another area. So we got there, we spent a night in hiding. And then the next morning, we find out that there was a group of Taliban in the same area, and they had initially come there to get an armed vehicle that was left behind. I don't know who it belonged to, but probably from the police officers or whatever. They came to claim that car, and then we also got the news that they are going to start doing door-to-door search. And then we were left in petrified in fear again, thinking, what if they come inside the house and they search for us? So we decided to leave the house and took the risk to try and go to the airport again, because we heard that there's another door on the other side of the airport. And there's a little gate that if you get through this gate, on the other side, there's the American Army base.
Yes.
And they are taking out all the American, passport holders, and they're getting them out of here with a army plane. So we decided to make our way to the airport again. We took two cars. In one car there, I was there with my fiance's cousin, and we took a little kid with us, just so we can blend in. And if they catch us or stop us on the way, we can blend in with a small child. And we got my fiance to sit in the next car with a lady and a driver. So we started driving towards the airport. We passed through about 5 Taliban checkpoints. One of the checkpoints, they stopped us, and one of them, he came closer and he put the light inside the car to see who's in the car. And the minute that he saw the little child with me, and I was obviously covered with a hijab, and you could only see my eyes and with my glasses on. And when he saw the child, he said, go. So we got lucky that he didn't search, he didn't ask for any names, and he let us go. So we made it.
Also, I think it helped that you were not carrying a lot of luggage. So it didn't look like you were making an escape.
Exactly. We had no luggage, only me and my clothes and a little purse that I had, around my waist, that I had my passports in, and this was under the hijab. And I was hoping that they will not search my body, because if they found the passport, the identity, that was it. So luckily he didn't search, he didn't ask anything. He just said go. And then initially we got close to the other side of the airport, where the military base is. And unfortunately, that is also a road, a very small road, like probably about 3 to 4 meters wide. And this road was like full of thousands of people again. And you had to push your way through, within all these people somehow. And if you were lucky, you would get out of there, And again, there was like small children screaming, like babies in the air, held like that by their parents in the air, because there was no oxygen. So many women were like fainting, crying. It was like an absolute chaos. And then we got through this road. I'm sorry. It was just heartbreaking to see people in a situation like that. And the small babies, especially because there was one baby in front of me with her mother, and they were holding her in the ear and she was screaming. And I was thinking, this baby is going to die any minute because there was no oxygen at all. And then people were like pressed on each other like that. So luckily, my fiance's cousin, he knew the way already. He just knew how to get me closer to the gate as much as possible. So got through the people, close to the gate, and then this lady had to give her baby to another man so that she could get closer to the gate with me. So both of us got closer, and then she got the baby from the man, and she asked me to hold the baby in my arms. So I'm holding the baby, trying to calm her down, and she's screaming. And the minute I cannot, take the picture out from my mind, when I held her in my arms, within a few seconds, she was like suddenly calm and she stopped crying. And then the lady was apparently American citizen, but she didn't have her passport on her because her husband was there and he had it, and he was somewhere, there, that she couldn't find him. And because my fiance was right in front of me, he got inside before me, and he was talking to the American soldiers, telling them about me, that I'm outside and they should get me inside. So I see my fiance, talking to the soldiers, and I was waving. I was like, look, help me, I'm here, and I still have the baby. So the soldiers came closer, and I'm thinking, should I take the baby with me inside? My head was saying, just take her as your own baby. And then the soldiers asking me, is this your baby? And then my second thought is saying, if I take the baby inside with me, and if her mother doesn't make it, what do I do then? I cannot separate a baby from her mother. And I decided not to. I said, okay, it's not my baby, it's the lady, but please, can you let her in, because the baby is gonna die. And the soldier, even though they were nice, but then obviously they have their rules and regulations, and they couldn't let people in without a passport, without a valid American passport. And he's like, no, madam, we cannot do this. And he's like, okay, I will open the gate for you, but you have to push this lady. And I'm like, I cannot push her. She has a baby in her arm. I cannot do that. And he's like, no, I will not open the gate for you if you don't push her. I said, no, I'm sorry, I cannot do that. So anyway, initially he opened the gates only for me, and I got lucky because that was apparently the last time that they would open the gate for anybody that night. And because one of the translators, he had recognized my fiance, that was the only reason they opened the gate for him, and then they opened it for me, because they found out that I'm a famous singer in Afghanistan, and I'm an activist and things like that, and I have a UK passport, and my fiance is Canadian. So anyway, that's how we made it inside finally, and then we were held there for a few hours, and then they rescued us and flew us out of Kabul with a C-17 army airplane, along with a few other 100 civilians who were American citizens. And they initially took us to Doha for a day, and then from Doha they took us to Kuwait, and then from Kuwait we took a flight to Washington DC, and I'm here now since yesterday.
And that piece of cloth that you're wearing, with no change.
And this is yes, I only got to change my t-shirt, and I was given this t-shirt by the American Red Cross because we had no other clothes and we were sweating and everything. So at least they gave us this t-shirt to wear, and the jeans that I had on me, I still have it, and I have nothing else.
Aryana, difficult times, but your last tweet, you said you would not leave Afghanistan. You've been saying that, and you'd be the last soldier to leave. And you expressed a bit of shock and agreement that yes, you indeed are one of the last to leave. What did you mean by that?
Gita, honestly, I was really counting on our government. I was really counting on our president. And I never in my worst dreams would have thought that the president would just leave Afghanistan in a span of few hours and just leave it in the hands of Taliban. It was very shocking to me, and it still is. I was in Afghanistan trying to give people hope because I was hopeful myself. I was counting on the military that was trained by the international community for so many years, and they are actually brave. But then we had a military without any leaders. The leaders run away, and they left our military helpless, and so how could they fight on if they didn't have any leaders? It's like unbelievable. I mean, how could they do that? How they did that? What kind of a game was being played and is being played right now in Afghanistan? We're all at a shock. And as I said, I was in Afghanistan giving people hope that everything will be okay, because I was hopeful myself. I just a month ago, exactly a month ago, I opened up a store in the heart of Kabul, and I established my clothing line, and I spent anything and everything that I had on that clothing line because I was hopeful that everything is going to be okay. But then suddenly everything just changed in a matter of night, and they gave Afghanistan in the hands of terrorists, Taliban, who that they belong to Pakistan. Actually, I only want to send a message to the world saying that every reason that the situation in Afghanistan is because of Pakistan. Who are Taliban? Where do they come from? Where do they get their funds from? How do they get trained? It's all in Pakistan. That's where they get trained. That's where they get their plans, their support. And Taliban are a bunch of illiterate, dark-minded individuals who don't have their own brains. The
Right.
actual brain and the real brain is Pakistan, and that's where they get all their support from to come in Afghanistan and spread terror inside Afghanistan.
Aryana, the fact remains that the Taliban now have become a reality. They are going to be a part of the administration in such a time when we see all the posters of women being blackened, their self-censorship. Women are not going out. Many women anchors have been asked not to come to work. While the Taliban, one wing of the Taliban, says that they're for freedom and for women's rights, on the ground, things are looking very different. Is Afghanistan going back to the dark ages?
Absolutely. Gita, let me tell you something. Taliban do not represent the entire Afghanistan. This is a small minority of a, dark-minded, extremist, part of a very small minority, in Afghanistan. And the world should not recognize them as a government in Afghanistan. They should not do that, because right now what I'm seeing is Taliban are trying to portray another face, and they're trying to tell the world that they have changed, that they've changed and they will let women work or educate themselves and stuff like that. I do not buy any of that. I mean, the experience that we had with Taliban, they're only doing that to show the world all this face, because they want them to recognize them. And once they are recognized, I'm sure they will turn back to who they were initially. And I'm sure that everything will go back to the dark ages that it was before. I mean, look at them, how they appear. I mean, look at their attitude. And as I said, a bunch of illiterate people trying to run a country, that's impossible. That's just impossible.
Right. Aryana, there are many women like you, activists, who have been tweeting, reaching out and saying, we can't leave Afghanistan anymore. We are locked up in our homes, waiting for the Taliban to knock on our doors and then meet our fate. It's as serious as that. For someone who's been promoting culture, music, your videos have been playing across Afghanistan and even in India. For someone like you or any activist who's been as vocal as you against the Taliban and against Pakistan, I can't even imagine what would have happened if you would not have managed your escape from Afghanistan. If you could tell us, what's the fear for women such as yourself if someone like you were to be caught by the Taliban? Would they make an example?
I mean, you can't even imagine. Believe me, Geeta, I'm not scared of dying. I really am not. But the one thing that was on my mind while I was trying to escape was, if they catch me alive, they would ridicule me in front of the cameras. They would uh, you know, parade me in front of the cameras, and then after that maybe do worse things to me, you know. And because they are looking for people like me who has talked against them, who is talking women's rights in Afghanistan, because this is all against their will. And forget about singing and music and all that. That's like completely out of, you know, out of question. And not just me, you know, put me on the other side, even the ordinary women in Afghanistan, as you can recall, you can remember, they do not have their basic human rights, you know, not the rights of even going out shopping on their own. They have to have a man with them. They cannot go and get education, cannot go to school, they cannot work or anything. I mean, there's like millions and thousands of women who don't have a man. I mean, who's going to work? Who's going to bring a piece of bread, you know, for them to eat and for their kids to eat? I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, it's an unbelievable situation for the Afghan women. My heart really bleeds for them. They're scared of being raped. They're scared of being locked up in their houses. They cannot go out and they cannot work. I mean, how can the world forget all that? How can they forget about the people of Afghanistan and just leave them in chaos? How can they do that? It's just not fair.
Do you think the world has not done right by Afghanistan, by the people
No,
and the women of Afghanistan?
Not at all. I mean, Gita, initially, they have to remember, why did they go to Afghanistan 20 years ago? They initially went there and they said, we are going there to get rid of Al-Qaeda, and we're going to go and get rid of Taliban. But 20 years later, after spending millions and trillions of dollars in Afghanistan, after, you know, all those lives that were lost in Afghanistan, they just decided to leave Afghanistan in chaos and just get out of there in a matter of few days and just leave it like that, without an ounce of care and you know, concern for the Afghan people. All these women, you know, within the 20 years that they went to school, they got education, they had, you know, facilities, they were working in the government and everything, and they have so many achievements, and they just put all that in the vein. It went all in the vein, and they just left Afghanistan and they're trying to forget about it. And they forgot who actually Taliban are. I believe that this is some kind of a game that's very unfair on the population, on the nation of Afghanistan. And the world need to wake up, and they should not forget about Afghanistan and its people. It's just not fair.
Before I let you go, now, in the words of Taliban, you are a woman who is not a Muslim, who's a kafir, who does not understand Islam. As a practicing Muslim of the world, Aryana Sayeed, what's your message to the Taliban who talk and espouse the cause and idea of Islam under Sharia?
Gita, I would say that they actually are not Muslim themselves, because if they really were Muslims and they were following the real Islam, you know, talks about love, it talks about unity, it talks about humanity and peace. You know, Islam never says that you can kill people, you can just shoot them, you can, you know, shoot women in the head, and you should not allow them outside and stuff like that. It never says that. Islam is a peaceful religion, and if they really were Muslims and they believed in God, and if they believed in Islam, they would never treat people like that. You know, that's all I can say. Some of them, if you stop them and you ask them to read a surah of the Quran that we have, they don't know the surah. They don't know the kalima. Believe me, we have seen so many videos of the Taliban who were captured by the government, and they ask them, can you read your kalima? They say, what is that? They have no idea. They're not Muslims.
They're not Muslims. People who espouse and fight for the rights of women, who fight for equality, are the real people of the world and practicing Muslims. Aryana Sayeed, many thanks for joining us here in India today. We are only hoping and wishing and praying for your safety. You are now in DC and you will be going back home in Turkey, where you're based out of. But for many other women who are already in Afghanistan, stuck in Afghanistan and have not left, Let's just pray and hope that they find safety, that Afghanistan finds peace and calm. Thank you so much for joining us here on India Today.
Thank you, Geeta, for having me.